In 1990, Dances with Wolves touched millions of hearts with its story of humanity and the untamed wilderness, earning 7 Oscar statues. But behind the glory lay devastating tragedies, unexpected deaths, lives destroyed by addiction and illness. Who are the ones who have left us forever? Let's uncover the stories behind the stars of the film and honor the legacies they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's go! Robert Pastoelli as Timons. Robert Joseph Pastoelli was born on June 21, 1954, in New Brunswick, New Jersey. When he was 36 years old, he made a strong impression with his role as Timons in Dances with Wolves, the rough, dusty wagon driver who brought the only humor to the epic tale of Native Americans and the conquest of the West. But behind the stage lights, his fate was a chain of tragedies that ultimately consumed him. Robert once dreamed of becoming a boxer, but that dream shattered when he nearly died in a car accident at 19 years old, a crash that left him alive but permanently scarred, both physically and emotionally. It was during those dark days between life and death that he fell into the grip of drugs, a temptation he could never escape for the rest of his life. Robert's career reached its peak with roles such as the haunting killer in Striking Distance and the funny Huey in Michael. But destiny took a dark turn on the night of March 15, 1999, that fateful night when his girlfriend, Sharamon Jonovich, died in their home from a gunshot to the head. A panicked Robert called the police, claiming she had taken her own life during an argument. But the public wasn't so quick to believe him, and the long investigation turned him from a beloved star into a man under suspicion. From that point, Robert spiraled deeper into loneliness and pressure. Acting roles became scarce, and offers dwindled to small, fleeting parts. Even though he once shared the stage with Glenn Close in A Streetcar Named Desire and won over audiences in London, Robert couldn't reclaim his former glory. Haunted by his lover's death and broken relationships, he fell further into addiction. On March 8, 2004, Robert was found dead in his Hollywood Hills home. His death was ruled a morphine overdose. Robert Pastoelli died at just 49 years old, leaving behind a net worth of about $3 million, built mostly during his peak years with Murphy Brown, Eraser, Michael, and Dances with Wolves. Floyd Red Crow Westerman as 10 Bears. Floyd Red Crow Westerman was born on August 17, 1936, on the Lake Traverse Reservation in South Dakota. He was not only an actor, he was a living symbol of Lakota Sioux culture. When he was 54 years old, Floyd reached new heights with his role as 10 Bears in Dances with Wolves, a wise, calm, but strong Lakota Sioux chief who represented the honor and pride of a forgotten people. But behind that spotlight was a silent tragedy few knew about. Floyd's childhood was a nightmare. He was forced away from his family's embrace and had his traditional hair cut off at Wahpeton boarding school. That humiliation left deep scars on his soul, turning him into a loner for many years. During this time, Floyd fell into alcohol addiction, using it to numb the pain of being stripped of his roots. His health declined, and his marriage to Rosie was often on the brink of collapse. Rosie, a strong woman, grew weary of the endless nights he was gone, on tour or lost in drink. The more famous Floyd became, the more he was torn between two worlds. Hollywood praised him for his iconic roles, from Red Crow in Renegades to the Shaman in The Doors, but it was also a gilded cage. Stereotypes and typecasting forced him to forever play the wise old native man. Every time he stepped onto a film set, he carried the pain of his people, but in real life, he was achingly alone. In his final years, Floyd faced his ultimate enemy, leukemia. When he took on the role of Chief Eaglehorn in Hidalgo, he was already weary, but pushed himself so that the character would not just be a role, but a final message of Lakota pride. In December 2007, Floyd passed away at 71 years old in Los Angeles. His net worth at the time of his death was about $2 million, a sum that ensures his memory lives on in the hearts of those who admired him. Charles Rocket as Lieutenant Elgen. Charles Rocket, born Charles Adams Clavery, was born on August 28, 1949, in Bangor, Maine. When he was 41 years old, he appeared in Dances with Wolves in 1990, playing Lieutenant Elgen, a disciplined, dedicated officer seen in tense military scenes around the fort. His role was brief, but left a lasting impression as a stern, dry, yet courageous man amid the film's epic backdrop. Beyond the screen, Rocket had once been one of Hollywood's promising faces. A rising star from Saturday Night Live, he captivated audiences with villainous roles like Nicholas Andre in Dumb and Dumber and Dave Dennison in Hocus Pocus. But behind the smile and film career was a life marked by heartbreak. Rocket married his college sweetheart, Beth Crellin, aboard the battleship USS Massachusetts in 1972. They had a son named Zane, but under the weight of career pressures and deepening depression, their marriage fell apart, leaving Rocket in a state of overwhelming loneliness. Fame could not save him from a string of disappointments. His career gradually faded, lead roles disappeared, leaving only small supporting parts in film and television. Rocket struggled with growing emotional emptiness and persistent depression. The breaking point came on October 7, 2005. He was found dead in a field on his Connecticut property, his throat cut. The investigation ruled it a suicide, leaving family, friends, and fans shocked and heartbroken at his tragic end. Rocket passed away at just 56 years old, leaving behind a net worth of around $1.5 million, mostly from his vibrant years with SNL, Dumb and Dumber, Hocus Pocus, and Dances with Wolves. He was laid to rest quietly, ending a life that had been both brilliant and deeply troubled, a life Hollywood still mourns. Mory Chaken as Major Fambro. Mory Allen Chaken was born on July 27, 1949, in Brooklyn, New York. When he was 41 years old, he left audiences haunted with his portrayal of Major Fambro in Dances with Wolves, a psychologically unstable, eccentric officer who made an unforgettable impact in just a few short scenes. His performance perfectly captured a man lost and deranged amid the tragedy of war. Behind the spotlight, Chaken's life was filled with ups and downs. He was once married to producer Ilana Frank, but the marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving scars that affected later relationships. He remarried actress Susanna Hoffman and had a daughter, but ongoing health struggles followed him. Chaken battled obesity throughout his life, a condition that led to a host of complications, including heart disease. Despite remarkable success, War Games, My Cousin Vinny, and his celebrated portrayal of Nero Wolfe in a hit TV series, he could not escape the shadow of illness and loneliness. On July 27, 2010, his 61st birthday, Mory Chaken died in Toronto from complications of a heart valve infection. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at about $2 million, earned through his film, television, and unforgettable performances. Jimmy Herman as Stone Calf. Jimmy Herman was born on October 25, 1940, on the Cold Lake Reserve in Alberta, Canada, and was of Chippewayan and Dean heritage. When he was 50 years old, he made his mark in Dances with Wolves as Stone Calf in 1990, a brave, loyal Lakota Sioux warrior symbolizing the honor, pride, and indomitable spirit of his people during a time of upheaval. Behind the scenes was a life full of challenges. Jimmy grew up in the isolation of the Canadian wilderness, where he faced poverty and emotional hardship early on. His adulthood was no smoother. Years of alcohol addiction cost him many opportunities and ended his first marriage, leaving him haunted by the pain of separation and loss. Although he found love again and remarried, the scars of the past and pressures of his career often strained the relationship. While working on Unforgiven in 1992, Jimmy was still battling addiction and trying to rebuild his family life. He threw himself into work, gaining fame with roles like Joe Gomba in North of 60, a television series that defined his career for 6 years. But the relentless demands of the industry often left him exhausted and deepened the cracks in his private life. Despite his hardships, Jimmy remained dedicated to his community, taking part in projects like Crazy Horse and inspiring Native youth through speeches and activism. Yet beneath it all, he carried the loneliness of a man twice divorced, with lingering regrets over the family life he never fully had. On September 13, 2013, Jimmy Herman died at 72 years old of natural causes. His net worth at the time was estimated at about $1 million, built from a career in film, television, and tireless work for his people. Wayne Grace as Major. Wayne Grace was born on May 7, 1940, in Pomona, California. When he was 50 years old, he appeared in Dances with Wolves as the Major, a tough-looking military commander who, beneath the surface, carried loneliness and regret, reflecting a real life marked by loss. Wayne Grace's life was a tapestry of tragedy woven between moments of success and heartache. Just as his career began to rise with roles in McCabe and Mrs. Miller, 1971, and later Star Trek, The Next Generation in the 1990s, he faced his greatest sorrow. His first wife died of cancer shortly after the birth of their second child. The loss forced Wayne to bear his grief while raising 2 children on his own during difficult times. Though audiences remember him for roles like Ulysses S. Grant in The Lazarus Man, 1996, and various Klingon characters in Star Trek, Grace never reached the level of fame he once dreamed of. In the later years of his career, he took roles more for financial reasons than artistic passion, setting aside the creative ambitions of his youth. His second marriage, too, ended unfulfilled, the wounds of the past creating a distance that could not be bridged. Wayne Grace died on August 13, 2022, in Venice Beach, California, at 82 years old, after battling complications from bladder cancer. He passed quietly, leaving behind an estimated net worth of around $2 million. The result of over 40 years of dedication through supporting roles in film, television, and video game voice work. Donald Hotton as General Tide. Donald Hotton was born on March 29, 1933. When he was 57 years old, he appeared in Dances with Wolves, taking on the role of General Tide, a powerful and commanding military figure. Though his screen time was brief, his performance left a lasting impression. General Tide embodied authority, isolation, and the unrelenting harshness of war, and Hotton's portrayal added weight and authenticity to those moments. Away from the cameras, Donald Hotton's real life carried many of the same quiet tragedies as the characters he brought to life. He found steady success in Hollywood with roles in respected films like The China Syndrome in 1979 and The Bodyguard in 1992. But with that success came a price. His dedication to his craft was absolute. He threw himself into his work with such focus that it slowly created distance between him and those he loved most. His marriage eventually unraveled after years of strain, as his long hours and intense commitment left his family feeling overlooked. His children grew up longing for more time with a father they admired, but rarely had close by. And while his career achievements gave him recognition on screen, in his personal life, Donald often wrestled with a sense of isolation. He had few close friendships, and for him, acting became the main thread that kept him connected to the world around him. In his later years, Donald faced additional challenges. He quietly battled depression and dealt with ongoing health problems that slowly wore him down. Despite the struggles, he remained a respected figure in the acting community, a man remembered by colleagues for his professionalism and depth. On April 14, 1999, Donald Hotton passed away at the age of 66. His death, attributed to natural causes, marked the end of a life filled with both artistic triumph and private sorrow. At the time of his passing, his net worth was estimated at about $1 million, a sum earned through decades of dedicated work in film, television, and theater. Doris Leader-Charge as Pretty Shield. Doris Leader-Charge was born on May 4, 1930, on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. When she was 60 years old, she moved audiences with her role as Pretty Shield in Dances with Wolves, the spiritual mother of the Lakota Sioux tribe, a symbol of compassion, wisdom, and enduring strength during a time of great change. Behind the scenes of the Oscar-winning film was a life full of storms. Doris grew up in poverty, raised by her grandmother, and learned hardship at an early age. At 17 years old, she married Wallace Millard. They had 4 children together, but tragedy struck in 1956 when Wallace died in a car accident, leaving Doris alone and pregnant with their youngest child. The weight of raising a family fell squarely on her shoulders. She worked many jobs, from kitchen help to waitress to nurse, through countless tear-filled nights to provide for her children. She later married Fred Leader-Charge, an Air Force veteran, but happiness remained elusive. The scars of her first marriage and broken trust in her second often left Doris facing loneliness on her own. She found renewed purpose in teaching and working for her community. Her success as Pretty Shield and as a Lakota dialect coach for Dances with Wolves and Son of the Morning Star, 1991, was not just an honor, but a way to give her people a voice in the world. Yet beneath it all, she wrestled with the balance between public duty and family love. Doris Leader-Charge died on February 20, 2001, at 70 years old, of natural causes. She was laid to rest at Black Hills National Cemetery, ending a quiet life that left a lasting mark on Lakota culture and language. Her net worth at the time of her death was estimated at around $500,000, earned through work in education, language preservation, and meaningful roles. Kevin Costner as Lieutenant John Dunbar. Kevin Michael Costner was born on January 18, 1955, in Linwood, California. When he was 35 years old, he both directed and starred as Lieutenant John Dunbar in Dances with Wolves, a Union Army officer who, after surviving the bloody battlefield, found purpose and compassion among the Lakota Sioux. The film earned Costner 2 prestigious Oscars and established him as a defining figure of modern Western cinema. Yet, Kevin Costner's real life has been no less turbulent than the stories he brought to the screen. At the height of his career with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991, and The Bodyguard, 1992, his 16-year marriage to his first wife, Cindy Silva, ended in 1994 amid rumors of infidelity on the set of Waterworld. The divorce cost him over $80 million and left an emotional void that was hard to fill. In the years that followed, Costner navigated a series of complex relationships with Bridget Rooney, supermodel Elle Macpherson, and Birgit Cunningham, while balancing fatherhood to 7 children from these different chapters of his life. Despite his turbulent private life, Costner never abandoned his passion for filmmaking. After setbacks like The Postman, 1997, he returned stronger with Open Range, 2003, and made a major impact playing John Dutton in the hit series Yellowstone, 2018 to 2023, reaffirming his place in the hearts of audiences. But just as this new golden era unfolded, personal tragedy struck again. In 2023, his nearly 20-year marriage to Christine Baumgartner ended in a high-profile divorce filled with legal battles and family tensions. In 2025, at 70 years old, Kevin Costner remains a living icon of American cinema. With an estimated net worth of around $250 million, built from his acclaimed work as an actor, director, and producer, behind the spotlight lies a heart that has been broken many times, still quietly searching for peace. Graham Greene as Kicking Bird. Graham Greene was born on June 22, 1952, in Oswego, Ontario. When he was 38 years old, he won over audiences worldwide with his role as Kicking Bird in Dances with Wolves, a wise and compassionate Lakota Sioux medicine man who helped bridge two distant worlds. The role earned Greene an Oscar nomination and placed him among the most influential Indigenous actors in cinema. But behind that brilliant success was a life once shadowed by unseen tragedies. In his 20s, Greene fell into a spiral of heavy drinking, derailing the early path of his career. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving him feeling isolated even as his name began to gain recognition through roles in Thunderheart, 1992, and Maverick, 1994. The greatest tragedy of Greene's life came with the death of his eldest son in a devastating car accident. The grief forced him to face himself, give up alcohol, and find the clarity to carry on. Greene has said that his work, including performances in The Green Mile, 1999, and Wind River, 2017, became his way of atoning and sharing messages of humanity and healing. In 2025, at 73 years old, Graham Greene continues to dedicate himself to the arts, serving as both mentor and example of resilience and determination. He lives with his wife, Hilary Blackmore, outside Toronto, far from the spotlight, but still active in acting and writing. His net worth is estimated at around $5 million, the result of over 4 decades of tireless dedication to his craft. Rodney A. Grant, as Wind in His Hair. Rodney Arnold Grant was born on March 9, 1959, in Macy, Nebraska. When he was 31 years old, he delivered a powerful performance as Wind in His Hair in Dances with Wolves, a proud, fierce Lakota Sioux warrior who symbolized freedom and the unyielding spirit of his people. The role etched Grant's image into the hearts of audiences worldwide. But behind the strong face of the warrior was a childhood marked by pain. Abandoned by his parents when he was just 6 months old, Rodney was raised by his grandparents on the Omaha Reservation, growing up amid hardship and loneliness. As an adult, acting became his escape, but the ghosts of his past and old wounds led Grant into addiction, habits that interrupted his rising career after roles in Geronimo, An American Legend, 1993, and Wild Wild West, 1999. His marriage also ended in divorce, due in part to career pressures and the unhealed scars that created distance between him and his partner. Afterward, Grant poured his energy into community work, devoted to preserving and sharing Native culture and working with groups like the Native American Advisory Council of the Boys and Girls Clubs of America. In 2025, at 66 years old, Rodney A. Grant lives a quieter life in Southern California. He continues to inspire Native youth and honors the spiritual heritage he represents. His net worth is estimated at around $2 million, built from roles rich in meaning, including in Son of the Morning Star, 1991, Geronimo, An American Legend, and The Last of the Mohicans, Tanu Cardinal as Black Shawl. Tanu Cardinal was born on July 20, 1950, in the village of Anzac, Alberta. When she was 40 years old, she portrayed Black Shawl in Dances with Wolves, a strong, kind-hearted Lakota woman who helped convey the cultural depth and spirit of the Sioux to audiences around the world. Tanu's childhood was filled with hardship. She grew up in foster care without the protection of her birth parents. It was her grandmother who planted in young Tanu a deep love for Cree and Métis culture and taught her the core values that shaped her life. Her grandmother also warned her of the challenges she would face as a Métis woman in a society full of prejudice. The quiet days walking behind her grandmother picking blueberries and listening to the land were when Tanu first learned to observe and embody characters, the seeds of her acting career. On screen, she shone in roles like those in Legends of the Fall, 1994, Smoke Signals, 1998, and Longmire, 2012 to 2017. But behind the success were private struggles. She experienced 3 major relationships, including 2 marriages that ended in divorce. Her first marriage to Fred Martin lasted 10 years and left her raising their son, Cheyenne, on her own. Later, her relationship with Beaver Richards brought her a second son, Clifford, but also ended in heartbreak. Her second marriage to actor John Lawler from 1988 to 2000 gave her a daughter, Riel, but also could not withstand life's storms. The demands of acting, single motherhood, and her tireless advocacy for indigenous communities often left Tanu carrying the weight in silence. Yet Tanu Cardinal never stopped moving forward. In 2025, at 75 years old, she remains a tireless force for indigenous rights and culture, from stage and screen to social movements. Her net worth is estimated at about $3 million, the result of over 50 years of devoted work in film, theater, and community service. Studi as toughest Panee. Studi was born on December 17, 1947, in No Fire Hollow, Oklahoma. When he was 43 years old, he made a lasting impression in Dances with Wolves in 1990 as toughest Panee, a fierce Pawnee warrior who embodied the haunting realities of war and conflict on the plains. The role not only gave the film added authenticity, but also confirmed Studi's extraordinary gift for transformation. Wes's childhood was marked by hardship. He grew up poor in a Cherokee family and spoke only his native language until he entered elementary school. At 17 years old, Wes joined the military and served in Vietnam, an experience that left him with lasting inner conflict and reflection. After the war, he joined the Native Rights Movement and was part of the Wounded Knee occupation in 1973. These years forged the steel in his spirit that he later brought to roles like Magua in The Last of the Mohicans, 1992, Geronimo in Geronimo, An American Legend, 1993, and Atuken in Avatar, 2009. Behind his cinematic achievements were personal challenges. His first marriage ended in heartbreak, leaving him with the pain of a broken family and distance from his first 2 children, Leah and Daniel. But that pain fueled his pursuit of art as a path to healing and cultural expression. Beyond acting, Wes has worked tirelessly to preserve the Cherokee language and heritage, supporting groups dedicated to keeping Native voices alive. Today, at 77 years old, Wes Studi remains a living legend of world cinema. Though health issues have slowed his work, he continues to inspire through meaningful roles and community activism. His net worth is estimated at around $6 million, the fruit of an unrelenting journey from warrior on screen to cultural warrior in real life. Tom Everett as Sergeant Pepper. Tom Everett was born on October 21, 1948 in Portland, Oregon. When he was 42 years old, he played Sergeant Pepper in Dances in 1990 with Wolves, a strict, disciplined soldier who helped bring authenticity and depth to the film's portrayal of military life. Growing up in a small town, Tom faced early loss when his father died, leaving a void that never quite healed. Music and theater became his refuge. As a student, he played cello with the Walla Walla Symphony and later graduated from New York University's Tisch School of the Arts before entering the world of film. Roles like Jack Dougherty in Air Force One, 1997, and Mosley Baker in The Alamo, 2004, showcased his versatility, though he never became a household name. Behind his career lay personal struggles. Tom went through 2 failed marriages, first to Kate in 1973, then to Anna in 1993. Both ended as career demands and distance wore down the relationships. He had 1 child from his second marriage, but geography and the pace of his career sometimes strained their bond. In recent years, Tom has faced health challenges of aging, leading him to slow down and focus on writing music, playing guitar, and living quietly in Oregon, where he recently purchased land for his eventual resting place. In 2025, at 76 years old, Tom Everett is remembered as a dedicated artist who brought soul to every role, no matter the size. His net worth is estimated at about $10 million, the reward of a lifetime devoted to his craft. The stars of Dances with Wolves left behind eternal legacies, but their tragic stories still stir our hearts. Which character from the film is your favorite? Share your thoughts in the comments and hit that share button to honor the legends who helped create this masterpiece.